Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
This episode is brought to you by Greenlight. You can't solve every case for your kids, but with Greenlight, they'll have the instincts and money skills to stay out of trouble. With a Greenlight debit card and money app, parents can monitor spending and teach financial responsibility. Educate your kids as they grow, from earning allowance and tracking chores to learning how to save and invest. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/Spotify.
Welcome back, True Crime Army. I am your host, Margot, and this is Military Murder, a show where I discuss cases involving military members and veterans, all with one goal in mind, to remind you to remain vigilant always. And today's case is heavy on my heart, like the kind of heavy that just straps on and won't stop weighing you down. You know that kind of case? I haven't been on social media much in the last few months, and it's been amazing for my mental health. But occasionally, I'll dabble and I'll scroll here and there. And when today's case popped up in my newsfeed just last week, I clicked it. And immediately, there was a pit in the bottom of my stomach. The headline read, "Marine Vet Fatally Shot During Facebook Marketplace Meetup." What? How? What happened? I was reading all the articles that I could, but they all said the same exact thing. Now, my anxiety grew because I wanted to know more about the Facebook scam. I wanted to know more about the arrest. I wanted to know more about the victim. And so here we are today. This case is fresh. I want to remind everyone that even though I do cover cases that don't have a final resolution, all suspects are innocent until proven guilty in court. For this case, I was able to pull up a probable cause affidavit that really helped to answer a lot of my questions. But remember, these are just allegations. I'm bringing you this case today because it involves something that many of us do on a daily basis, and that is to buy and sell online in our local marketplaces. I think it's important for us to know what is alleged in this case to have happened. And at the end, I will be giving you all some tips from the police on how to stay safe during these routine activities. Join me today as I tell you the tragic story of Michael Ryan Burke. Now, let's dig in.
Military murder is an independent project and is not endorsed by the Department of Defense or any military component. The views expressed are those of the host. The content of this podcast is not meant to be legal or medical advice. Warning, this episode contains graphic details of murder and is not suitable for young listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
It's a quiet Sunday night in Columbia, Missouri, January 18th, 2026. If you're listening to this on the day that this episode airs, that was 2 weeks ago. 42-year-old Michael Ryan Burke is a Marine veteran who survived combat tours overseas. He's at home getting ready to sell an iPhone to someone that he met on Facebook Marketplace. It's just a simple online sale, or so he thinks. At around 8:10 p.m., he receives a Facebook message that says, "I'm here." Within minutes of that message, gunshots ring out. Michael is left mortally wounded, yet he manages to do two incredible things. One, he dials 911 to report what has happened, and two, he sends a final text message to his family. In that heartbreaking message, he tells his mother and sister, quote, "I'm dying and I love you," end quote. Moments later, first responders arrive to find Michael fighting for his life. He would not survive. This is the story of how a decorated U.S. Marine and beloved community hero was killed in his own home over a phone sale, and how police caught the alleged perpetrators of a cold-blooded Facebook Marketplace scam turned murder. Before I go more into this crime, you need to understand the kind of person that Michael Ryan Burke was. By all accounts, Ryan, as his friends called him, was the kind of guy who dedicated himself to helping others. He was a decorated U.S. Marine veteran, having served as a Force Recon Marine and deploying during the Iraq War. He performed dangerous missions and rose to the rank of Staff Sergeant. He was a military hero, as one of his friends described him. After leaving active duty, Ryan didn't stop serving. In fact, service was in his DNA. He became a firefighter in his hometown of Colombia and also took on private security and medical roles, protecting U.S. diplomats overseas. He was even working security for the government in places like Iraq. And most recently, he was helping protect humanitarian aid deliveries in conflict zones. Literally, this man was standing guard as food was delivered in Gaza shortly before coming home. But Ryan's calling went beyond just his official duties. He was deeply involved in missionary and humanitarian work. Over the years, he traveled to Uganda, Haiti, the Philippines, Kenya, all over the world, on missions to help those in need. In Baghdad, he even helped found a church community while he was stationed there, providing locals and fellow expats a place of refuge and hope. He had a strong faith and believed in taking action to make the world better. One central passion of Ryan's life was the fight against human trafficking. He worked locally and abroad to protect vulnerable people from exploitation. Back home in Missouri, he continued his ministry and even started a men's Bible study group that he kept going when he returned stateside. I mean, from reading about Ryan, it's clear that he lived to serve and protect others, whether it was as a Marine, a church leader, a pastor, a humanitarian, or even a local firefighter. And through all of this, friends say that Ryan remained humble. He never sought recognition or praise. He just wanted to do the right thing. His lifelong friend, Bill Lloyd, said that Ryan was driven and that he had a deep heart for others. He was always willing to sacrifice for the people around him. Another close friend of his, Jerry R., remembered that Ryan always put others first and made sure people knew how much he cared about them. Ryan's motto could have been something like faith in action, because he truly walked the walk. By January of 2026, after years of globetrotting and service, Ryan was back in his hometown of Colombia, probably just planning his next chapter. No one could have imagined, though, that this kind and courageous man who survived war zones and helped to save lives around the world would soon be targeted in a deadly scheme right at home. At the same time that Ryan was settling back into life in Colombia, a group of local teenagers was allegedly running a dangerous scam on Facebook Marketplace. Their game was simple. Find people selling high-value items, such as iPhones, lure them in with a fake buyer profile, and then rob them instead of paying them for their items. According to investigators, 4 young suspects, 3 of them 18 and 1 of them 17, and the 18-year-olds were Alexis Bauman, Kobe Oust, and Joseph Crane, and the male juvenile who was only 17 is unnamed. His name has not been released. Well, this group of teenagers, 4 of them, were working together in this Facebook scheme. And in the days before Ryan's murder, these teenagers had already preyed on 2 other sellers that we know of. Just 2 days earlier, on Friday, January 16th, 2026, a woman in Colombia was selling an iPhone via Facebook Marketplace. She gave the would-be buyer, who was using a profile with the last name Brown, her home address. Just after 1 p.m., 2 men arrived at her house to see the phone. As she was talking to the men with her phone in hand, they snatched the phone right out of her hands and ran off before she could even react. It was a brazen daytime theft. That victim's doorbell camera, though, later helped police identify one of the suspects as a local 17-year-old boy, the juvenile, and Kobe Oust. This theft was bold, but it worked. The thieves actually got away with the iPhone. The very next evening, Saturday, January 17th, a second victim wasn't so lucky. This time, the transaction turned somewhat violent. A Colombia woman arranged to sell her iPhone 15 for a few $100s. And when the buyer arrived at her house, he did the same snatch and walk. Except this time, the perp may have been more nonchalant because the victim said the man began to walk away after snatching the phone and then pointed a pistol at her and chillingly warned, "If you touch me, I'll shoot you." He then got into the passenger seat of a car that quickly took off. Now imagine how terrifying that must have been for the seller. One moment you're handing over a phone, the next, you're staring down the barrel of a pistol over a few $100 phone. I mean, thankfully, she was not physically hurt, but I'm sure that she was and still is shaken. Well, the group of teenagers didn't waste any time turning stolen phones into cash. Only about 10 minutes after that armed robbery on the 17th, that stolen iPhone was resold at a Walmart Eco ATM kiosk in town. Now, if you're not familiar, because I was not, An Eco ATM is a machine where you can deposit a phone and get cash instantly. It's common, actually, for thieves to use these ATMs to offload stolen electronics. Sure enough, these ATMs have surveillance on them. And surveillance footage from that Walmart showed two of the suspects, Alexis Bauman and Kobe Oust. They were at that machine selling that stolen iPhone. Even more incriminating, though, security cameras caught all four suspects arriving together in the same Toyota Venza at the time of the sale. Now, it appears that Alexis, the only adult female in the group, was the one who actually completed the sale at the kiosk, likely because the kiosks require an ID scan. And since two of the prior victims had said that the perpetrators were men, this foursome, they were using the female perpetrator who no one had seen to deposit the phones. At least they were trying not to raise any red flags initially. In addition to using the female's ID, they had virtual disguises, fake Facebook profiles. They had a getaway car, and they even had a system for fencing the stolen goods almost immediately. At the time that they were reported, Columbia police had begun investigating those earlier incidents. They had some leads, like the doorbell video and an alias from the Facebook account. And they even had a license plate number of that gray Toyota captured by traffic cameras. The stage was set. These suspects were on a no-kidding crime spree that weekend. But unfortunately, their next target would be Michael Ryan Burke. Sunday, January 18th, 2026, Ryan Burke had posted an iPhone 15 Pro for sale on Facebook Marketplace. It was a top-of-the-line phone worth approximately $500 to $600. Sometime that day, he was contacted by a prospective buyer through Facebook Messenger. The buyer said they were interested and asked if they could come to see the phone. Ryan, likely being like most of us, realized that Facebook listings tend to cool down after being listed for a day or two. So he jumped at the opportunity for the same-day sale and provided his home address on Ridgemont Court in Southwest Columbia. The meetup was set for that evening. At 8:10 p.m., as darkness had fallen, Ryan got a message from the buyer. It simply said, "I'm here." Ryan then likely righted himself for a quick sale or maybe a disappointed "I'll pass this time." We all have been there, right? Where you're so excited to make a sale and the person just passes. Well, what Ryan didn't know was that prospective buyer had no intent to actually buy the phone. He was there to steal it. He was armed and he wasn't alone. According to what police later pieced together, two of the alleged suspects, Joseph Crane and the juvenile, approached Ryan's house that night, both carrying guns. The getaway driver, allegedly 18-year-old Alexis Bauman, stayed in the car with Kobe Oust. They were a little bit down the street. This was a coordinated setup. And at around 8:15 p.m., the situation exploded into violence. Exactly how it went down is still under investigation, but the probable cause affidavit suggests that when Crane and the juvenile entered Ryan's home, possibly under, the ruse of inspecting the phone, some kind of confrontation occurred almost immediately. 3 gunshots blasted out in quick succession, and neighbors later reported hearing multiple pops and screams. Inside the house, Ryan Burke was shot and had collapsed to the floor as the gunmen ran to their getaway car. Yet, even in those critical moments, Ryan's survival instincts and selflessness kicked in. Despite bleeding from multiple gunshot wounds, he managed to reach his phone and dial 911. When the dispatcher answered, Ryan used what little strength he had left to describe what had happened. He urgently reported that someone had come to his house to buy a phone and that he'd been shot. He even gave police a description of his attackers as best as he could. That detail, though, really blows my mind because it shows just how determined he was to help catch these guys, even while he was gravely injured. Not only that, but while Ryan was waiting for the ambulance to arrive, likely in incredible pain and uncertain how much time he had left, he actually thought about his family. He pulled up a group text with his mom and his sister and typed out a final message. "I'm dying and I love you." Those were his last words to them. Now let that sink in. He wanted his mom and his sister to know how much he loved them and how he likely also knew that this might be goodbye. It's incredibly heartbreaking, but from everything that I read about, this is a true testament to who he was, that he used his final moments to express love and to try to ensure justice would be served. Well, within minutes of the shots being fired, Columbia police were responding to the 1400 block of Ridgemont Court. Inside the home, Michael Ryan Burke was lying critically wounded. He had been shot multiple times in the torso. First responders worked quickly to stabilize him and rushed him to University Hospital. He was still alive upon arrival, giving his family and friends a shred of hope. But tragically, his injuries were too severe, and despite emergency surgery, Ryan succumbed to his wounds and died early the next morning. News of Ryan's death rippled through the Columbia community. Friends and loved ones were devastated. Jeffrey R., the friend who'd known him since college, later told a reporter that it was almost impossible to believe that Ryan had survived so many perilous situations during his military service, only to be killed at home during a routine Facebook sale. The irony and unfairness of it all left everyone reeling. But even as they grieved, Ryan's friends took a little comfort in knowing that his final brave actions, calling 911 and texting his loved ones, were true to his character. Quote, "That was just Ryan," end quote, said his friend. After responding to Ryan's house, Columbia police immediately launched a full-scale homicide investigation. Thanks to Ryan's 911 call, they had a jump start. They knew the incident was a robbery, someone coming to buy a phone, and they had a basic description of the suspects from Ryan himself. Detectives at the scene recovered physical evidence as well, including 3 9mm shell casings ejected by the shooter's firearm. Investigators also took custody of Ryan's phone, not the one that he was trying to sell, but the one he actually had. And that proved to be a goldmine of clues. Using his phone, they were able to access Ryan's Facebook Messenger app. And there, they found the entire conversation with the supposed buyer. This included the buyer's Facebook profile name and the exchange where Ryan gave out his address and the buyer simply replied, "I'm here," at 8:10 p.m. The profile name was likely an alias, but it gave police a lead to trace through Facebook records, and the timing confirmed that the shooting happened just minutes after the suspects arrived. Given the striking similarity to the other recent marketplace robberies, Columbia PD quickly connected the dots. They knew about the gray Toyota Venza used in the previous 2 phone thefts. In fact, they had already identified that vehicle's license plate from a Flock safety camera, which is an automated license plate reader. And that Flock safety camera had caught that vehicle fleeing the January 17th robbery. Now, after Ryan's shooting, they checked cameras in that area where Ryan lived. And sure enough, the same Toyota Venza was captured near Ryan's neighborhood just around 8:15 p.m. right after the shooting. It was the exact window that the perpetrators would be escaping from the crime scene. This was a huge break in the case. It tied the murder directly to the known robbery crew. Police also went back to that Walmart Eco ATM and pulled all the surveillance footage and transaction records that they could. There, they confirmed that the suspects had sold a phone stolen on January 17th at 6:45 p.m., and they used Alexis Bauman's ID card. Now, as investigators were standing there, they wanted to see if Ryan's phone somehow ended up at this kiosk as well. And incredibly, according to court records, after shooting Ryan and stealing his iPhone, the suspects did exactly the same thing. They headed to Walmart and sold Ryan's phone at the Eco ATM within an hour of the shooting. Y'all, I know this is all alleged at this point, right? Innocent until proven guilty, but my blood feels like it's burning inside of my body. This is crazy. Now, video footage and receipts with serial numbers would later back this up. It's mind-boggling how brazen these criminals were. Essentially, they created a trail of digital evidence for themselves. I mean, I love dumb criminals, but this is beyond me. Just get a job, y'all. Now, with a combination of eyewitness accounts, surveillance videos, license plate tracking, and Facebook data, detectives had built a solid case identifying their suspects. And on Monday, January 19th, Columbia police moved in and arrested 4 individuals, 18-year-olds Alexis Bauman, Kobe Aust, and Joseph Crane, along with a male juvenile whose name was withheld. He is 17. When the news of the arrest broke, it confirmed what many suspected. The same group of teens were responsible for the earlier phone robberies and Ryan's murder. The arrest affidavit reveals chilling details of the suspect's own account, Alexis Bauman. So she's the only one that is listed as making a statement on the probable cause statement. and she was the alleged driver. She told police that she was a part of all 3 robberies that weekend. But she did tell investigators that the 17-year-old was the one who basically went on Facebook and obtained the victims. Everyone else was just along for the ride. On this particular day, when they arrived at Ryan's house, she told police that she waited in the car while Joseph Crane and the 17-year-old went to conduct the robbery. As she waited in her car, she heard the gunshots ring out, then saw Crane and the younger teen sprint back to the car. As they jumped in, she said that the 17-year-old said he was the one who pulled the trigger. The group then sped off, and some of them took their sweatshirts off and threw them out the window. And incredibly, they went directly to Walmart to dump the stolen phone for cash, acting as if it was just another day's score. By the time of the arrest, police already had plenty of evidence. Video of the suspects at the ATM, videos of the suspects pulling up to the Walmart, sweatshirts and jackets that the police actually retrieved after the guys threw them out the window, and they were later identified as belonging to the perpetrators. They also had the getaway car with the license plate, and they had the fake Facebook account, which, by the way, was accessed from the IP address of the juvenile's house, and that Facebook account was also accessed immediately before the shooting while the suspect vehicle was at a gas station. Whether they found the murder weapon has not yet been released, though. To be honest with you, the community after this arrest, they were so relieved, but they were also stunned at the lightning speed of this investigation, which really gives me so much pride in this police department. Columbia's police chief also reassured the public that this appeared to be an isolated robbery spree, and it was not a random attack on the community at large, implying that they believe they caught all members of the group responsible. But let's be honest, this case is a mix of solid police work and Ryan's own quick thinking that brought about this swift justice. Think about it. Ryan gave a description that night. The earlier victims had provided leads. One even had a video camera. The suspects left a trail of digital breadcrumbs, and modern technology like license plate readers really tied this case together nicely. In just 48 hours, what started as a very ominous unknown suspect resulted in the arrest of 4 suspects who are currently in custody. So let's talk about charges and the current legal status. Once in custody, prosecutors wasted no time filing charges. On January 20th, 2026, the Boone County prosecutor formally charged all 3 of the alleged adult perpetrators with an array of felonies for their roles in Ryan Burke's death. The 3 adult suspects face second-degree murder, aka felony murder. Now, this means that they are accused of causing Ryan's death during the commission of another felony, right? They all admit to the robbery, or at least one of them admits to the robbery. In Missouri, second-degree murder is a Class A felony, which basically means if convicted, it can carry a life sentence, and the state law requires a minimum of them serving 85% of their sentence before they are eligible for parole. They are also charged with first-degree robbery, another Class A felony for forcibly stealing Ryan's phone while armed with a deadly weapon. And they've also been charged with first-degree burglary. This charge applies because the suspects unlawfully entered or remained in Ryan's home with the intent to commit a crime inside. Additionally, Joseph Crane, who is alleged to have been in Ryan's house, faces 2 extra counts: armed criminal action and unlawful use of a weapon. The juvenile suspect, who is reportedly 17 years old, is also charged in connection with the murder and robberies, though his case is being handled in the juvenile justice system for now. Because of his age, his name isn't public, but we do know that one of the co-defendants has accused him specifically of being the one who pulled the trigger, alongside Crane. Now, it's very possible that prosecutors will seek to have this 17-year-old certified as an adult due to the severity of the crime, but that process can take some time. If this 17-year-old is charged as an adult, we could expect to see the same slate of charges for him as the others. As of this recording, all 4 suspects are in custody. Bauman, Ost, and Crane, all the adults, are being held without bond at the Boone County Jail, meaning that a judge deemed them too much of a risk to release. The juvenile suspect is in the custody with juvenile authorities in Boone County. Now, I did check the court docket, and it does look like preliminary hearings is scheduled for March. And for those of you wondering, if convicted of the charges as they stand, These very young suspects, remember, they're only 18 years old, they could be facing decades in prison. Second-degree felony murder alone can carry 10 to 30 years or even life. And then the additional charges carry lengthy time as well. So let's say, for example, if one of the perpetrators is convicted and is sentenced to 30 years, they'd have to serve at least 25 and a half years before a chance at parole. Of course, stacking multiple convictions and sentences could effectively ensure that they remain behind bars for a very long time, especially if the sentences are given consecutively. Of course, I do have to note again, these charges are allegations, and in the U.S. justice system, all defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty in court. The case will work its way through the legal process. Possibly there might be some plea deals, or maybe there is a holdout and someone decides that they want to plead not guilty and go to court. Who knows? But given the amount of evidence, surveillance videos, digital records, statements from the co-defendants, it appears that prosecutors have a really strong hand in this case. I'm going to keep everyone posted once this case moves along. So be sure that you're listening to those headline episodes where I do close the loop on a lot of open current cases. Now, I'm not going to lie. This case really stayed with me for many reasons. One of the reasons is the victim, Ryan. Victims of crimes are often described as the type of people that light up every room they walk into. But rarely are there enough descriptions of their actions that allow a pure stranger like myself to draw our own conclusion that victims light up every room. And guess what? Ryan did light up every room he walked into. But what I gathered from reading about Ryan from his friends is that he lit up the lives of those around him. He was a man of service, you know? And listen, as we reflect on Ryan's case, it's impossible not to ask, what can we learn from this tragedy? Ryan Burke's murder is an extreme and heart-wrenching example of how a simple online transaction can turn deadly quickly. I don't want anyone to live in fear, but I do think we owe it to Ryan and to all victims of similar crimes to take safety seriously when using platforms like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and OfferUp or any other buy-sell meetup group, you know? I am personally guilty of giving people my address, but now I will not be doing that anymore. So let's talk about some practical safety tips for online marketplace meetups. These are tips compiled from law enforcement experts and crime prevention organizations, and honestly, I will be following these steps myself from now on. Now, tip number 1, meet in a public, safe location. Never invite a buyer or seller to your home, and don't agree to go to a stranger's home either. Instead, arrange to meet in a neutral public place, ideally one that is busy, well-lit, and one that has security cameras. Many police departments nowadays offer something called safe exchange zones, and these are zones in the parking lots or lobbies of their police stations specifically for online transactions, which, by the way, I had no clue these existed until now. I mean, I knew they existed for co-parents who can't be civil, but for buy-sell items, that's amazing, and that is huge. By the way, I did find a link with a list of all of the police departments that have signed up for this. So I will be putting that in the show notes if you're interested in finding what your location would look like. But the police stations, they are under video surveillance, of course, and they give you immediate access to law enforcement if something were to go wrong. If your area doesn't have a formal safe zone, choose a crowded coffee shop or a shopping center during the day. Daylight hours, of course, are always safer than nighttime hours. And the key here is visibility and the potential presence of witnesses. Scammers or robbers, they don't want to be seen or caught on camera right away, at least. And meeting in public could deter a would-be thief or at least make it much harder for them to get away with an attack. Tip number 2, don't go alone if possible. If you can, bring a friend or family member with you when you meet the other party. There's safety in numbers, y'all. 2 adults are a far less attractive target for criminals than 1 person alone. If no one is available to go with you, share your plan with a trusted contact. You should even use some sort of location sharing app, even if it's just for the duration of the meetup. That way, if anything happens or if you don't check in by a certain time, your loved one or your trusted agent can alert authorities. It might feel a little bit excessive for a very small sale, but it's a simple step that could save your life. Tip number 3, trust your instincts and be ready to walk away. If something feels off about the transaction, don't go through with it. For example, if the buyer keeps changing the meeting location at the last minute to somewhere secluded, or if they show up with more people than expected, or anything just gives you a bad vibe, the heebie-jeebies, whatever it is, it's okay to cancel. Your safety is more important than making a sale or a purchase. Also, this is a given, but never agree to get in someone's car or let them into your car during a sale. That can compromise your safety real quick. Keep the interaction in a public place and as brief and quick as possible. Tip number 4, choose cash or secure payment wisely. This tip is more about avoiding scams than violence, but it's worth noting. If you're dealing in cash, only bring the amount needed and keep it in a safe place on your person. If you're the seller, consider asking for a cashless payment through a trusted app. That way, you're not handling cash at all. However, be cautious. Do not accept weird forms of payment like a gift card, and beware of counterfeit cash. Tip number 5, use common sense on the platform. On Facebook Marketplace, you can check the buyer's profile. Have they been on Facebook a long time? Do they have friends, photos, etc.? Scammers often use newly created or blank profiles. This tip is not foolproof, but it is one factor. Facebook and other apps also have a rating system now. Use those as a guide, though again, those can be fake as well. Or you can just realize that someone with no history isn't automatically dangerous or a scammer, but it should prompt extra caution on your part. The bottom line here is no deal is worth risking your life. If a buyer or seller refuses to meet at a police station or insists on odd arrangements, that's a huge red flag. It's better to lose a sale than to walk into a trap. I know it's easy to get comfortable. We do dozens of harmless marketplace transactions, and we tend to start to feel like it won't happen to me. But the tragic truth is that bad people take advantage of people's honesty and people's trustworthiness. In the wake of Ryan Burke's death, let his story serve as a sobering reminder. If you're a listener who uses these platforms, please take these precautions to heart. Share them with your friends and family as well, especially older folks who might be selling items or younger people heading off to college who furnish apartments with online finds. Police departments often run public awareness campaigns about this issue because unfortunately, we've seen other cases like this one across the country. It is a real issue. As I close this episode, I do want to honor Michael Ryan Burke's memory. He lived as a protector, a helper, and a man of faith. It is cruel and unusual that his life ended the way that it did, but perhaps by learning from what happened and always exercising caution when meeting strangers for transactions, we can prevent future tragedies. Ryan did nothing wrong. He did everything right. He followed his moral compass, and even in his last act, he tried to bring justice and ultimately reminded his mom and his sister how much he loved them. Now it's on us to carry that forward. And if your mom and siblings are still alive, maybe you should take just a minute to remind them how much you love them today. Life is precious and short. True Crime Army, I love you. It doesn't matter how long I've been researching and writing these stories, my heart always feels heavy in thinking about the people left behind by the victims. How do survivors reconcile God's love with the fact that their loved one is no longer here on earth? I definitely don't know the answer to that. But maybe grief and faith can exist in the same breath, even when neither makes sense. I am definitely praying for healing and justice for Ryan's loved ones today. True Crime Army, I will be sure to update you when this case is resolved. For now, be sure you follow the podcast wherever you listen so you never miss an episode. And be sure you listen to those headline episodes. That's where I wrap up a lot of current headline cases. And don't forget today, check the show notes. I did link a website where you can find your nearest safe trade station in your community all across America. My research for this case involved the official probable cause statement, Bauman's arrest warrant and complaint, as well as reporting by People Magazine, New York Post, Como 8 News, KRCG 13 News, Port St. Lucia Talks News, and ChristianPost.com. Military Murder is a Mama Margot production. The music was created by Ty-Ops. Until next time, remember, you never really know what someone is capable of, so remain vigilant always. You have a fabulous week, and I'll keep digging to bring you another military murder story next time.
Mama's working on her podcast. I don't want to.